Hello! I hope you guys are all having a great day today. It's beautiful outside, and I think that this project that we're going to do with Steam Explorers today will be really fun for playing outside. So you can kind of take it out there and toss things in the air and make your action figures float with the power of a parachute. So what we're going to do is assemble our materials first. Well, we're building, or creating, I should say, parachutes that are kind of based on Leonardo da Vinci's design. And so Leonardo da Vinci was an inventor, an artist. He had a lot of ideas, very, very cool guy. And he came up with this idea for a parachute like 500 years ago, long before parachutes, our modern parachutes, existed. And so one of his most popular or famous sketches is of a simple parachute in a kind of pyramid shape. Like, I'll show you what we'll be making. Like, oh my goodness. Sometimes with the strings it just gets tangled. Like this. I don't know if you can see the pyramid shape that well right now. But it has 4 sections. And he estimated what would help a human being float with their parachute. And he didn't make it. Then so he designed that 500 years ago, and he just had this sketch with all kinds of notes because he had a lot of ideas. And so Leonardo da Vinci didn't make the parachute, but 20 years ago approximately, I think in the year 2000, a random guy decided he was going to make Leonardo da Vinci's parachute. And so he used the same materials that Leonardo da Vinci would have used, the wood and the linen, and used kind of old-fashioned tools, and created this parachute that actually worked. I mean, he wore a modern parachute, too, for safety reasons. So, at the end, he kind of took off his Leonardo da Vinci parachute and then ended up kind of sailing to safety with his modern parachute. But it's a functional design that's pretty cool. So I'm going to show you how to make it. What we're going to need are 4 pieces of paper. So just 8.5 by 11 paper. And these are going to make our triangle. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just using kind of a scrap paper I have. It doesn't have to be anything special. And we're going to fold them in half. So we're going to do the same thing to each piece of paper. What we're going to do, we're going to fold it in half so the short sides meet each other. So one short side meets the other short side, and fold it in half. We always called this hamburger style. And this is just so we can find the center of our paper. So give it a nice fold. I'm going to move these papers to the side for now. So just give it a nice fold in half, and then open it back up. And you should have a line right down the middle. This fold line is our center mark. And if you want, you can just mark at the top. I'm using my Sharpie, but you can use a pencil. I would recommend using a pencil just because it's easier if you mess up to erase things. But for visual's sake, I'm using my red Sharpie. You can just mark at the top. So what we're going to do, we're going to make a giant triangle using this. So you're going to need a ruler. And, okay, let me just tell you all the things we're going to need off the bat. You're going to need your 4 pieces of 8.5 by 11 paper. You're going to need a pencil or a marker, whatever you choose. You're going to need some scissors. You're going to need some sort of string or a dental floss or fishing wire, anything that's, I'm using this kind of really thin yarn stuff because I have a lot of it and I don't really use it for anything, and it's pretty cool. And you're going to need some tape. What else? If you want to, so there's an optional part if you want to do this part, where if you want to use a little cup or something like a yogurt cup or something, and if you're going to use a little cup, you're also going to need a hole punch. And then any decorative things you need. If you want markers to decorate your parachute, if you want crayons, if you want a stamp, whatever, that's up to you. But here's how we make our panels, our 4 panels for our parachute. What we're going to do is we're going to, I'll show you, take our ruler because we need a straight line. And you're going to go from the center line, see where I marked, down to your bottom point, and you want those to connect. So I'll show you. I'm going to go run my ruler right from that center line down to one of the corners. Just draw a line right along that edge. Just running my pen right along the edge. So you'll have something that looks like that. And we're just going to repeat this. So we're going to go from the center line down to this corner with our ruler. So measuring, let's see, you're not really measuring a distance, you're just lining up with your center point and the end of your paper, that bottom corner, and draw a line. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna end up with a triangle right in the middle of it. So your triangle with the fold through the middle. We're gonna repeat that on the rest of our paper, so we're gonna have 4 of these. So let's do the second page. We're gonna take it, fold it in half. Remember, short side to short side. Just to find our center mark. Short side to short side. Open it up like a book. And then I like to just have a mark. I find it easier just to put a little mark on the center, just so I know where I'm kind of lining things up with. If you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but there you go. And we're gonna run that from that center line with our ruler down to our bottom corner, just the same as we did. You wanna get it pretty good. I kind of messed up a little bit. I went a little off. I'm just gonna draw another line. This is why I recommend using a pencil, so you can erase. But you can't really tell because my marker's so thick. So I'm gonna just continue doing the same thing. So from the center down to the bottom line to make my large triangle. Just like that. And we're going to repeat because we need 4. So right now we have 2. We're going to do that on our other 2 pieces of paper. Folding it in half, short side to short side, hamburger style, and make it a nice crisp fold. I always, when I'm doing a fold, I like to run my fingernail kind of down the fold once I'm sure that it's all lined up. I find it also, if you line up your edges and then you kind of push this way, like towards your fold, it'll give you a more accurate fold, because sometimes paper can be tricky. But anyway, we have our center mark. Let's make our mark. We'll do the same thing. I like this design because there are a lot of ways to make a parachute. You know, like modern parachutes use other materials that Leonardo da Vinci did not know about because they didn't really exist. And they made them lighter and easier to carry and more efficient. So modern parachutes, so here's our third one. We're going to do it on our 4th, and then we'll be done with this part. Modern parachutes have different kind of levels built in. So we're making kind of a 1-level parachute, but other modern parachutes have more levels, and that makes it easier to steer because you can kind of control where the air is coming from. But at the time they thought of this kind of design, nothing existed. And so the challenge was how to stay aloft. I think the first guy jumped out of an airplane. He was like a U.S. airman, I think. And he jumped out of an airplane in 1912 with his parachute. But there are all kinds of weird parachute stories out there. Like the history of the parachute. One guy tested his parachute and he threw a dog with a parachute out of a hot air balloon, and it worked. Luckily, the dog survived. Everything was fine, but crazy stuff, right? All right. So we should be at the point where we have 4 pieces of paper that look exactly the same, because we're making our parachute is going to be symmetrical. That means the same on all sides for balance purposes. So we need 4 pieces that are exactly the same. And then all we're going to do is take one piece and grab your scissors, and we're just going to cut along those lines we drew. So just nice straight lines. Take your time. It's not a race. I'm just cutting right along that line. And then We'll set aside these little bits, so I cut off this part. We'll set that aside. We don't need it. I'm going to toss in my recycling bin. What we really need is this center section. So just carefully cutting so you have your big triangle. And what we did, so if you'll notice, this triangle we just made, so this was on this side, we pulled that off, is an equilateral triangle. That means it's the same on all the sides. Because like this is a triangle too, right? The part we cut off, because see it has 3 sides, but it's not an equilateral triangle because you see how each side is not the same. It's a right angle triangle. I'm going to toss that away so I don't confuse it with anything. I'm going to put my triangle to the side, and I'm just going to repeat that. You're going to do that 4 times. So you're going to need your 4 big triangles. Snip right to the top and toss. How's everyone doing? Is everyone making their parachutes? Has anyone been outside today? I went and I sat outside with my coffee this morning in the garden. I think the rabbit has been eating my peas. I was looking, and some of the stuff looks pretty nibbled on. So, once again, just cutting along those lines we drew. Oops. So I'm thinking how I want to decorate my parachute, because after we cut out each page, we're going to decorate them. I'm not sure if I want to color or if I want to stamp. I've been really into stamping lately. I don't know. There's something really satisfying about it. You know, just sticking your stamp into ink and making patterns. Maybe I'll do that. All right, so that was my 3rd triangle. I'm putting that to the side for my other ones. And we're on the last one. We're on the 4th. So just cut along those lines. This is a project that's actually from a very cool book. I have the ebook actually up from the library, obviously. And it has lots of cool kind of background on Leonardo DaVinci's inventions. And so this is a project from that book. It's called, let me tell you, Amazing Leonardo da Vinci Inventions You Can Make Yourself. Fun fact. Okay, now we have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So get to those points. But fun fact, I once went on a bike trip across the south of France, and we were going to this tiny little town in the middle of nowhere. And on one of our stops, it was like a week-long trip. It was a lot. But the let me secure this a little bit better. I had it placed pretty forward so you can see the table, but oh, awesome, Margaret. I'm glad you guys are making parachutes. But I went on this bike trip, and we were going down a hill into this tiny town where Leonardo da Vinci's house was, where he finished painting the Mona Lisa, which is an amazingly famous painting, of course. And so we were going down this hill, and I lost control of my bike, and I flew off it and, like, slammed into, like, the sidewalk curb and just, like, had blood dripping everywhere. And that's how I arrived at Leonardo da Vinci's house, and just, like, dripping blood on this historic thing. It was a pretty cool place, though. They didn't have any ice, because they don't have ice in France. But they kind of bandaged me up in the little cafe, and they had all of his inventions all over the grounds. It was one of the coolest kind of museum-like the house wasn't much. It was this little old house, but all over the grounds they had all kinds of replicas of his inventions. It was very cool. All right, we're at the point where we have our 4 triangles. So what you're going to need now, actually, you know what? Let's decorate. I think that's a good time. We're going to decorate them. So pick one side. Only one side will be showing, so you only need to decorate one side. And decorate as you so choose. Let me see, maybe on 2 of them, and maybe I'll make like an alternating pattern. So maybe on 2 panels, I'll like draw a pattern, and then on 2 panels, I'll stamp. I don't know. How are you guys going to design yours? You're going to decorate with any kind of fancy intent. Maybe I'll make swirls. I don't know, there's something like very calming about swirls. Just kind of some big swirls to be symbolic of the air, let's say. I don't know. I used to doodle swirls all over, like when I was in school and trying to listen and focus in school, I would doodle all kinds of swirls. Let's see, maybe one more swirl down here. A little bit up here. There we go. I don't know. It's art. I'm going to make 2 swirl pages, I think. I'm going to put that to the side. I like this. I have one of these twist up. Oh, awesome. With one of these twist up crayons. And I find it very like, maybe it's because I also have adult hands and little crayons can be really hard to hold on to. But I like this twist up crayon. I kind of found it. I don't know where the other ones are. I found it in this is my craft room, and I have lots and lots of craft supplies here. And sometimes I just open a drawer and discover new things, which is always fun. But let's see, maybe I'll make a big swirl down here. Little swirl over here. It's kind of filling it up. And then, so I have my page, and I have 2 more triangles. Maybe on this. Ooh, I do. I have this stamp to the side of me. Isn't this a pretty stamp? This feels very like parachute appropriate, Leonardo DaVinci-esque. I don't know. And we'll need some ink. I'm just going to stamp, I think, on these ones. So just kind of stick my... The thing about this stamp, though, that I realized is that I put the image on upside down. So, like, it's like facing this way, but if you turn it around, it's upside down. So I just have to remember to have it upside down if I'm going to use it. Ooh. Oh, that looks so cool. Look. Just a nice little stamp. Maybe I'll do 3. Like kind of 1 in each corner. 1 stamp. And then there. Just kind of put 1 in each corner. This is a piece of scrap paper, so it has like letters and numbers on it, but it still works. I'll just do the same thing with my last page. Decorating. Take your time decorating. Can be whatever you want. Oh, wait, remember, upside down. Okay. The top section. And over here. There we go. Maybe I'll put 1 in the middle, too. It feels better like that. There we go. A little design with my pretty stamp. I'll put 1 in the middle of this one, too, just to even it out. Give it some balance. So cute. Okay, I'm going to put this on the side. I'll clean that later. Close up my ink. I don't want that to dry out. Pop it to the side. All right. So, we'll move on. You can continue to decorate yours if you want. You can also kind of decorate after the fact. It will fold flat, so you can continue decorating. I just find it easier to decorate before I kind of assemble everything, because then I'm not getting all tangled or confused. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take our 4 triangles, and since I did them kind of like 2 kinds that have the same design, I'm going to kind of alternate them, but you put them in whatever order you want. Remember, all the sides are the same, so you can kind of line it up however you want. So I'm going to put 1 triangle, and I'm going to arrange it. So I have my blue triangle. I'm going to alternate, so I'm going to do my black triangle. And you're going to lay them out in front of you on the table. So I found it easier to lay them out then kind of pull them apart and assemble, so you can see what you're doing. So you're going to lay them out just like this. So you're kind of like you're making a pizza, but there's going to be like a big empty gap in one section. So like, let's see if I can hold it up. So you have just like this, and then that 4th piece would be connected. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can kind of like pull back a little and give you a good view. You know what? Maybe if I move my camera a bit, you can kind of see something like this. I don't know if you can see that because I can't see into the screen, but you want it alternating, and then it will have like a big empty section. Whatever direction, so if you did your designs, whatever direction you want it to go, so like since my moons and stars are all kind of facing the same way, I don't want them like to be upside down or anything on my parachute. So I want that top point to be in the center of my pizza. So like where all of them line up, that center point, that's going to be the top of your parachute. So you want your stuff kind of facing, like if I want it up and down, I want this point in the middle. And then the swirly ones, I don't really care about. It doesn't matter what direction they go. But then like this is up and down, so I want this one in the middle. Like so. Kind of arranged. So once you have your setup that you like, that you're ready to attach together, you're going to grab your tape. I'm using my fancy tape as always. But feel free to just use like clear tape if you want to be able to see your design, or whatever kind of tape you want. So what you're going to do is you're going to get it. Here's the trick. You need a big enough piece to go like along your thing, because you don't want air in between the little pieces. But big long strips of tape are very unwieldy. They're hard to work with, right? They get twisted up and it's frustrating. So if you're not comfortable using a long strip of tape, I would just say use shorter strips, but make sure they overlap so you don't have any air or gaps in between them that like air could escape and impact how your parachute performs. So I'm just going to line up. I'm going to move these to the side a little bit. I'm just going to line them up, and I'm going to put tape right down that center mark. So I find it helpful to kind of hold both of my pieces with one hand. Grab my tape. I know this part's a little tricky. If it's too tricky, grab like a little piece of tape and then put that in the center or somewhere where you know it's kind of all assembled, and then keep going. That might, you know what, I actually would recommend that as opposed to taking a long strip of tape, because I think it'll just be easier. Hand-eye coordination. All right, so I'm just taking my tape. I'm making sure to overlap a little bit so I don't have any gaps, and just kind of going along. And we're just going to tape this whole seam line. So the whole thing right in between it. Oop, I need a little bit more at the top. And go off. And if you kind of like went off your paper with your tape, just kind of fold it down or trim it off, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. I'm just going to kind of fold it down because it's just little bits. So this is what you should have. You should have two taped together. See how it's upside down? Well, this is going to be this is going to be the top, this bottom part. So that's why it's upside down right now. And just along your seam line, see how I overlapped it where the edges met? That's just for security. All right, so then I'm going to take my next one, which I'm going to put on this side. So I'm going to do blue because I'm alternating blue, moons, blue. And I'm going to attach it using how I laid it out. I kept it. I just moved it to the side. So it's going to attach down here. And you're going to put tape all along that line. So let's do that. Let's take our edges, line them up as best we can. This one, I'm going to start at the top. And everything. Just making sure my tape's pretty smooth. Overlapping where I need to. And then I'm just going to kind of fold that down. It's extra. And fold the top down a little bit. So you should have your 3 sections. And then we need one more section. So take your next one. And I'm going to pop it on this way. So do you see how it's upside down now? But if the top, that point, is going to go in the center. So let's attach it right on here. To the other 3. Oops, I forgot a little bit at the top, so I'm going to put a little bit more tape up there. There we go. Okay. little bits. This is looking pretty good. We are almost done constructing our canopy, or the top of our parachute. All right, so this is what you should have. Your 4 panels are connected, looking kind of like a pizza with a big gap missing, looking kind of like a, I don't know, hexagon-ish shape with pieces missing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through and just reinforce the folds on our seam line. So we're going to fold our tape. So wherever our seam line is, it's going to be really easy to fold right along where our tape is. It just gives us sharper corners. So we're going to fold. Oops, I folded too much. I went too far. Right along your tape line. Let's see, just so it lies pretty flat. Like that. And we're just going to do the same thing to each corner. So wherever it is with the tape, this one's really easy to fold. I think I had enough of I think the other one I overlapped my pieces a little too much. But here we go. It should just fold in. Just make a sharper fold. And just do that. So you're going to do that on each section. Just to kind of make our pyramid shape a little bit more apparent. So you should have something like this. You see the pyramid forming? We just have to tape down this side. But in order to tape down this side, it'd be too hard to tape it down while it's like 3-dimensional and popped up like this. So we're just going to take it along the parts we folded, and it should lie flat so that we can put this part on the table. Just kind of make sure. And we can just put our tape right down that section while it's flat. So I have some gappage in between there, but that's fine. Don't worry about it. Just make sure that you're not taping your papers to like completely flat. Like I'm not trying to glue the other side down. So I'm just going to be aware of that. But I'm not too worried because my tape isn't like crazy sticky. So just running tape right down that seam line. Like so. Give it a nice section. All right, and then I put too much on as always, so I'm just gonna kind of fold it over. And here we go. Just fold it in half a little bit. I used my tape. Yeah, my tape's not that sticky, so it's not even really sticking to itself. And then you should have your pyramid. Oops, you know what? I put too much tape at the top. I'm just going to trim that tape off. Be careful not to trim a hole in your parachute. I'm just going to trim the extra tape I put on there off, though, just so it's not in the way. Get it off my fingers. All right, so we have the canopy of our parachute. We have the part that's really going to float. But now we need to add the strings and, if you want, a little basket for your action figure. So I'm going to make my little, I don't have a lot of action figures and little characters and stuff at home, but I do have my little bunny from, there's a girl bunny too. It's from my Easter decorations, and they have a little bit of weight, and I thought that they would be fun to kind of make float. So grab something that you want to have fly in your parachute, and then you're going to need your string. I'm going to move this to the side for now. Let me move it over here. So we have our string. You're going to need your ruler again. And you're going to need your tape and your scissors. So what we're going to do, we're going to measure out 4 lengths for each of our 4 corners of the same length of string or whatever you're using. So I have a big knot in mine. You know what? I'm going to cut that knot off and just toss that part and keep going. All right. And you want your length to be about a foot. So I'm just going to use this ruler is a foot. A little bit more than a foot actually, and just kind of go along and measure from one end to the other. Looks good. Make a cut. You have 1 foot long piece of paper or piece of string. You need 4 of these. So 1, put it to the side, and just repeat 3 more times. So let's see, line it up. looks pretty good. Gonna go in, give it a snip, and put it with the other foot long one. And then do it 2 more times. So line one end up with one end of the ruler. Line one, ooh, I'm losing it. Line the other end up with the other end of the ruler. And make a snip. Oh, here. This is in the way, isn't it? Oops. Lost my ruler. All right, hold up. We got to remeasure. One end, snip. If it's not absolutely perfect, it's fine. You just want them to be about the same length. For balance purposes, you can kind of finagle it later if you find it's really unbalanced and kind of pull one end and push one end, you know. It's good to practice good measuring though. So 1 to 1 end, make sure it's flat, and go in with a snip. Oops, what did I do? I didn't snip all the way through, but it's fine. Okay, I move that string away because now I have, and we're done with the ruler, now I have 4 strings. Now, here's what you want to do. If you want to add a little basket for your thing, so you have the option of either tying your action figure like directly to your parachute or making a little basket and then tying that to the parachute. I found it a little bit easier to make this kind of little basket. This is what it's going to look like. But make this kind of little basket for my dude or whoever I decide to put in to float around as opposed to like tying them directly on. Just because sometimes it's hard to tie many strings at once. So you're going to need a little cup or some sort of little thing to put it in. You're going to need your hole punch. And you want to make 4 punches for each of the 4 strings. And you want them to be one across from the other. So I'm just going to kind of fold my cup a little bit in half just so I know. And I am just going to punch through 2 at once. If you want to punch through 1 at a time, go for it. But mine's a heart punch, actually. It's an upside down heart. But so I punch through 2 times. So now I have 1 punch here and the other punch there. And they're directly across from each other. So then what I'm going to do is the same thing. I want to make it the opposite. So the other side. So I did the top and bottoms. And I want to make the side to sides. So I'm going to turn it around. So my hole punches, where are they? It's hard to see. But the hole punches are now on the sides. I'm just going to fold it in half again. Grab my hole punch. Go down approximately where I think the middle is. If you're feeling really sneaky about it, you can measure. But I think approximating is fine. And I punched through 2. Now I kind of open it. Back up. And we have 4 punches. So we have 4 holes. 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom, 1 at the side, 1 at the other side. And we're just going to take one of our pieces of string. Let's see, I have 2 in my hand right now, but I'm just going to grab 1. Feed it through one of the holes, and we're going to tie a knot. So I like to feed it like from the outside in, but it's totally up to you. So I'm going to put it through the outside hole, through the middle, and I'm just going to tie a knot here. If it's too hard to tie a knot, you could totally tape it too. Oops. See, I'm talking and I'm not focusing. But there we go. I just thought it was kind of fun tying it on. But if you want to just tape your string to the top, the bottom, and the 2 sides, you can totally do that too. So here's 1. I'm going to repeat that 3 more times. The string keeps getting stuck on my sleeve. Let's see. We'll just do it 1 through each of the holes. Oh, I went through the outside. How's it going? You guys still with me? Still making parachutes? I thought this would be a fun project for today because it's so beautiful outside. You can go and like launch things out the window. But of course, always practice good parachute safety. You don't want to launch anything on top of anyone's head. You want to look out below. Make a general kind of thing. All right, so I have 2. I'm going to go ahead and do the other 2. Here's my string. Got all tied together. You could totally use thicker yarn for this too. I think there are a lot of materials that if you wanted to try different kinds of materials and figure out what worked best, you could do that. it might be interesting to see at home what kind of materials you can make your parachute out of. Like if you want to try something other than paper, I don't know. All you need are equilateral triangles. So let's see. One of the things I saw online when I was looking at parachutes is that people make them with like wax paper because the air doesn't flow as well through wax paper because it has that waxy coating, which could be cool. It just seemed a little bit tricky because it's not measured out for you, you know? You'd have to measure out carefully to get your triangles. But if you want to try that at home, we'd love to see it. All right, I'm at the point I have attached my 4 strings from my 4 corners kind of my, here we see, of my little basket. It's almost like a hot air balloon basket. I mean, that's actually kind of what it is, but all right. Now here's the point. You're gonna need your tape and you're gonna need your parachute. And if we turn it upside down, we notice that this, from the bottom, it looks like a big square, right? The pyramid, the base looks like a square. We see it? And so the square has 4 corners. So we're gonna attach our string to each of these 4 corners. And I found the easiest way to do that was to put it so my parachute side is laying fairly flat with my other hand kind of inside of it. I'm gonna take one of my strings and I'm gonna put it, let's say about an inch. Well, if this knuckle is approximately an inch, yeah, about an inch in. And then I'm gonna take my tape, take a little piece of it, and then I like to tape it on lengthwise, going down my seam, as opposed to like this way. I just think that it will help a little bit better. It's not gonna matter that much, but I like to get it as close to the bottom, I'm gonna show you in a second, to the bottom as I can. So this is the tape I just put on. Here's my string. So that way my string is coming out kind of that point, as opposed to like the string ending here and then kind of like flopping down. And then I just kind of tuck the edges in like that. So it's kind of coming out. You can see it coming directly out of that point at the bottom. So that's one corner. Now we're gonna go to our next, let me hold it in our viewpoint a bit better. Okay, here's what we did. We're gonna do our next corner. So we're gonna find what's right next to it. Hold that, hold those, flip it over. I find it easier to kind of do it like that and kind of reassess each time because I definitely crossed my wires a little bit in one of the parachutes I was making earlier and they got kind of tangled up and it was just tricky. So I'm placing my tape longwise, right along there, and kind of just folding down the extra so that it looks like that. And I'm doing them, I want it to be fairly balanced. So I know that when I tied it on, I wasn't exactly measuring, you know, my exact distance and everything. So I just want it to like be kind of fairly balanced when I hold it up. It doesn't look like it's kind of leaning to any one side. Looks pretty good to me. If my triangle's up, it doesn't look like my cup is tilting in a particular direction. All right, so next we're gonna go this one. So we have to go to the string that's right next to the other one we just did, and it's gonna go here. So take your paper, lay it kind of flat, grab your string, be like approximately an inch or so. It's good enough. I have my tape, and tape it along that seam. So we're here, and we're going. All right, so that's 3. We have 1 more. So we're gonna take that one, lift it up. We're gonna put it in. I think, so if you see on my thing, it might be that some of the strings are a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. So see how like there's one string that looks, this one, looks pretty droopy if I like hold this up. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's how I was holding my thing. We'll just continue. Tape it on and then assess. So make sure this is straight, this is straight, and I'm just going to tape along this. And then we're going to assess balance. Because this is our parachute. We're basically done. We just need to make sure that nothing is tipping over. So, oops. You can hold it up. You should have your parachute with your cup at the bottom and your pyramid at the top. And then you can take your little action figure or whatever you want to put in there. I think it's fun to have different kinds that are like different weights. So this guy is a little bit heavy, but if you had some that were lighter, some that were heavier, when you're exploring with your parachute, you can kind of compare how fast they float or how fast they fall, what kind of float you're getting, you know, that kind of stuff. So you're just going to pop them in the cup and you'll have your parachute. Now you just have to find a good place to drop it. So I'm actually looking at the window and I'm like, it'd be so fun to drop it right out that window. There's a big screen on it. So I'm just, for example's sake, I'll just toss it in the air. But it's fun if you have a set of stairs, if you have something with more height, if you have a window that you're allowed to, you know, always get a parent's permission, that you're allowed to drop out of and look below. Make an announcement before you drop your parachute so no one gets bonked in the head with a flying action figure. And you can kind of see. Whoa, I flipped it upside down accidentally. But that was me. That was me like throwing it in the air. If you're dropping it, you'll have a straighter drop. Let's grab my little action figure. We're back. All right. She flew out, and my strings kind of got twisted, so let me just twist them back. Put her back in, or him. I don't know which gender this rabbit is. And it might be easier if we drop from above. Let's see, maybe if we just dropped from here. Ah, there we go. Some nice flight. So I hope you guys really enjoy playing with your parachutes. You can also try different parts of it. Like you can try putting, like cutting a hole in the top might work to like make a vent or some sort of vent. I don't know. I think there are a lot of ways that you can kind of manipulate your parachute to try different scientific explorations. But yeah, so that is our project for today. This has been our last STEAM Explorers or After School STEAM. So oh, awesome, Margaret. I'm glad you guys are making it. And Deb, so this is our last After School STEAM Explorers. I keep saying the wrong thing. But I hope you guys continue to keep doing projects at home and working on things, and I'd love to see what you guys come up with. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Is there anything before I log off? Did everyone feel like they made successful parachutes? They were on the right track? It's fairly simple. It's just the same thing over and over again. Let's see. Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, I will let you go then. Thank you for joining me on my last After School STEAM, and I hope that you guys have a beautiful day.